Buzz, 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 bitches, and welcome back to the Baron's Hideout podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anna.
And I am the other one, Dustin. I'm finally here.
Yay! He's finally here. He's caught up, you guys. I'm so excited to have Dustin here with me. One of my dudes has arrived. And I want to start this episode off before we dive into episode 3, which is called Them's the Breaks. Perfectly enough. I want to hear, Dustin, what you thought about season 1 and 2. Like, especially season 1. I feel like that one's been the best thus far. Season 2 was good, but I just want to know what you're feeling now going into season 3.
All right, so season 1 was a total roller coaster. I loved the writing and how everything was put together in there. This weird, like, someone's following us, someone's blackmailing us. There's this big storyline, then it starts to obviously crumble and break into separate sections, and then you have the murder, and then all that stuff, which kind of lingers into season 2 a little bit. I had a lot of fun, and for there being a ton of characters, like there's a lot of characters in this show.
A ton, yeah.
You get warmed up to them pretty quickly, and I guess I'll say my favorite character, even up until now, considering she's still alive in some way, is Natalie. I love Nat so much. Like, young and old, like, absolute perfect character. I loved her arc and just how fluid she was with everything, and like she was here, then she's not here, and then obviously what happened in season 2, which was like, oh fuck, are you kidding me?
I cried so hard at that finale, dude. I was like, no, not Natalie.
Yeah, it sucked. But my second favorite, and it's only one version of her, it's the adult version of Misty. I
Oh my gosh,
love Misty so
Misty.
fucking much. She to me is the comic relief of this entire show.
100%.
You have Randy every now and then, who's pretty fucking funny.
Randy Walsh.
but Misty, I feel like her intentions in a way have been good, but have always turned not good. She thinks what she's doing is a good thing, and then it's just like, oh no, I actually just made something way worse than it needed to be, because she interprets things differently. Because as you see when she's a kid, when she hears people say, "Oh, Missy did something really good," it kind of boosts her, and she's like,
for sure,
okay, so they like what I'm doing, so I'm going to continue doing this one thing. And then like, Misty, why the fuck did you do that? And she's like,
yeah.
Well, you guys said before that this, and this was great, and I fucking helped you. Oh, yeah, she's good. And then the one character I'm still on the fence for is definitely Shauna. I can't get a read on her. She is so hard to follow. Even the adult version of her. Her young version right now, I feel like she's flipped completely the other way from when we first got introduced to her. Even like season 1, season 2, Shauna, I feel like were pretty much the same, but later on in season 2, young Shauna, she started to kind of turn a little bit, and now in this one, she's completely unhinged, 100%. Like old and
she's
new.
feral. Yeah, both versions of her are feral. Adult Shauna's got to get her shit together, because she's going to end up pushing Jeff away, and she needs to just
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, she does. She does need to just shut the fuck up, but she also needs to sit Callie down, whether it be with Jeff or without, or with the other Yellowjackets or whatever, and tell her what happened in the wilderness. Tell her everything. Just come clean to your kid. At this point, she's in on it. She's in on the gig with you guys.
Lottie.
So, yeah, fucking Lottie, dude. So just tell her she's not. It's not like she's 10. She's pretty much an adult almost. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Quit trying to protect her, because all you're doing at this point is pushing her away and not telling her this stuff. With the way things are going with Lottie at this point, not filling her in on what happened could be potentially hazardous and get her killed. Because golly, when Lottie gave her, when I saw her wearing that necklace, I gotta say though, I felt like Shauna's response was valid in episode 3.
Same. 100%.
When I saw that on Callie, I was like, oh, no, she didn't. And then Lottie was like, it never meant what you thought it meant. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, spirituality, wilderness Lottie, like whatever bullshit you want to feed into, at the end of the day, the person who was wearing that ended up getting murdered and you guys ate them.
Yes.
So you can't blame her for feeling that that's what that, represents, because hell, I felt the same way as a viewer. I was like, oh shit, that's not good. What's Lottie planning? Like, what's she thinking?
Yeah.
And I just, oh my gosh. And so, real quick before we jump any more into it, I'm getting
Sure.
excited. Who's your least favorite character and why is it Mari?
Oh man. I don't know. Like she's definitely one. God, I feel like out of all the characters, it's really hard for me to like really hate one. Like she's up there for sure. But I think Lottie, I can't fucking stand her. I
Yeah.
can't. Like going to her as a child now, making Travis get high to hear the forest and like forcing him like, no, you need to do this.
Yeah, I did not like that.
I didn't like that. And then like the whole resort thing was just like, oh, okay, this I guess seems right.
Yeah,
um
tracks.
yeah. And then seeing how unhinged she was, like it didn't take her a lot to go back to that whole like I feel everything. I am this. It speaks to me. So
Yeah,
we need to do this hunting game now, even though it was I think Shauna's fucking idea that fed her
I
that,
know.
which
Hmm.
thanks Shauna. It's another reason why I'm just like I don't know if I should like her or not. Um but yeah, Lottie, like I wanna throw out a fucking window because like just what she's doing to Shauna's family
Yeah.
and just everything and everybody around her. I have something I'm going to bring up between Lottie and Callie's like little shopping thing. I have a theory, and
Okay.
I want to know if you picked up on this because
Okay.
I want to talk about it, but we'll get
Okay.
there. We'll get there.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and jump into episode 3. Like I said, titled "Them's the Breaks,"
Hmm.
and I feel like we got way more adult storyline than we did wilderness storyline in this
Hmm.
episode until the last like 10 minutes, and my eyes were glued to the screen and my jaw was on the floor because they did a lot of visual storytelling that was a first for them in this series. It could have gone. I feel like a lot of people's not going to like it. I feel like it could go either way. Me personally, I was sold until the alpaca started talking, and I was like, I said, you've got to be fucking kidding me. But we'll save that for here in a little bit. What were you wanting to bring up about the shopping experience? Because I saw that clip early. The Yellowjackets page shared it as like a teaser, so I watched it. And at this point, Misty's trying to convince Shauna that everything that night went the way she wanted it to, and she's trying to ultimately prove Walter and herself wrong that no,
Yeah.
these girls are really her friends. So she's inviting herself along to hang out with Shauna, all the while all the while Lottie and Callie are shopping, and this is after Shauna yells at her for the necklace thing and tells her to get the fuck out. So Callie has still followed her after everything and
Hmm.
is still seeking out her guidance. And even Lottie asks her, like, what do you want? Like, why are you here? What's this going on between us?
Yeah.
And Lottie comes from money, and I'm assuming she's still got some of that left over. I don't know. I can't remember if they mentioned her parents are still alive or not, but
I don't
she
think
came
so.
she came from money, so that's just what I'm assuming it still is. But so they're in this fancy store, and Lottie definitely plays the shoplifting card like this is not her first rodeo.
Yeah.
Picking up on Callie, like, okay, you've got one undercover over there, but she's not very good at her job. There's no sensors on the tags, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Because Callie picks up this dress that's like $1,300. And Lottie proceeds to put it in her bag. I was like, girl, why are you doing this? If you care about her, like, why are you
Corruption.
corruption?
Important.
Yeah, why though? For like a cult mentality, like to bring
Yeah.
them in? Really?
100%. That and for her to just further prove her point that she knows how to work this world. Like she feels like she knows how to weave herself in and out and always know when something's going to happen. And if she's doing this and something else will happen. Like with her, it's always like you give and take, give and take, give and take, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
something negative will always come out with something positive.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Maybe this is a way of her doing something a little negative that would give her something positive in return.
Okay, that's a good point. Good point.
But my theory on this whole thing. So let's go back to, was it episode 2 with the meeting with Jeff and the two guys for the furniture.
Uh-huh.
All right, and Shauna gets that phone, or she knows there's a phone and someone was in the bathroom with her, and then
Mm-hmm.
later
Mm-hmm.
on she calls and she gets a description, which we presume she gets the description of this person who came to pick up the phone, right? Because we never really got the whole conversation, but as a viewer, I'm like, she got the description.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look very, very carefully, there's a good portion right before Lottie grabs the red dress. There's a
Uh-huh.
girl behind them that has the same haircut as Misty, same color, over the looking at the bags. And I'm thinking
I
it's
just
the
got chills.
girl that Shauna is now seeing as a young girl, that it's her posing as
Melissa.
Misty. Because you know how later on Shauna confronts Misty and says, I know it was you that did the phone. I know it was you that did this. And I have a feeling this person may be in the background of other episodes. And I need to go back and watch now. I could just be complete bullshitting here, but this person is hanging behind them. And like the camera, you can definitely tell like when a camera's trying to phase somebody out in the background, it's not essential at all. This
Right.
person starts from like in front of them. You see walk around, and places themselves right behind, looking at things for the entire conversation.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back and watch now.
Yeah, let me know what you think. I could just be completely bullshitting right now, but I think somebody is trying to essentially frame Misty so that way they can go and do whatever they're trying to do at this point. Because
Oh,
also, the
that's a
brakes
good
go out.
point, dude. Yeah.
The brakes go, and she goes, "What, did you fucking do this?" Because if you remember way early on, Misty took the cables out of Natalie's car.
Mm-hmm.
So if this
And
person's been watching, could have easily broke the brake cables, and then it would have been, of course, Misty, it was you because you fucking did this before. We know it was you.
right. Very,
I'm just
very
saying,
true.
same haircut, no glasses though, but same haircut, same height, everything. So
Oh
that's
man,
my
you've just
theory.
like blown my dome, dude. I'm gonna have to go back and look because I feel that way too, but even without seeing the person behind them in the shop, because one, I feel like whoever is following Shauna, it's got to be Melissa. It has to be. They are heavily alluding to that.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not her, then bravo, well played. But you're right. I've been thinking that too. What if this person has been around? Obviously, they're still alive. So what if they've been around for the whole first 2 seasons as well, following them, and we just have never known because they haven't made themselves known until now. And so they've seen everything that went down with Adam Martin, all the crazy shit Misty did, Natalie, the wilder, like at the cult compound when
Yep.
Natalie ended up dying, all that shit they know.
Yep.
So that's a very good point. And now I want to go back and see if they are actually like planting her in the background of places. Because we get that POV in episode 1 after Natalie's funeral when the girls are having a drink and it looks like someone's watching them, and
Yeah.
Shauna gets that feeling, and then we get the parallels in the wilderness of the
Fuck,
same
that's
thing.
right. It's the same person. It's the
Yeah,
same.
you
It's the
scared
same
me.
fucking person. I'm serious because you saw the haircut. You saw the blonde hair from
I
her.
don't
It's
think
the
I
same.
don't I don't think I remember the blonde hair though. I just remember the POV of like us
It
as that person.
zooms back and you see it kind of like out of focus. It's the same fucking person. I'm on to
Oh my
something.
gosh. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
on
I'm
to
gonna have to go
something. If
back and
I'm
check
right,
now.
everybody listening to this, you got to donate us $1.
Yeah, you gotta give us $1, Bob. Every time
$1.
Dusty gets theory right. $1, Bob.
I feel really good about this. And theories, like when I usually have one, it's kind of never really works out. But this one I feel really good about.
Feel confident in.
I really do, because this show does so many twists and turns, especially in this episode. They added a lot of new elements, as you were saying, and I feel like this was the most like horror-esque one of it, really like tapping into like nightmare realms type shit.
For sure, yeah.
Especially when they start finding the coach, right? And they go into that room and he's like, oh, there's gas in here. So hallucinogenic gas, obviously, that's fucking you guys up. And you're already, not really starving at this point, but you guys are pretty fucking tapped.
You're traumatic. Yeah, you've had a traumatic experience that no one should ever have to go through.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're still a child with a growing brain.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're pretty fucked. And let's not forget the cannibalism. So
yes,
that right there is a red flag enough in itself. But I'm wondering if, gases in caves, that's something that's fact and science. Yeah. So if that's happening there, not to say that it's happening somewhere else. Like, think of Lost on that island, all the crazy shit that went on. What if the same thing's happening out there in the wilderness to some degree? Like, what if there's gases everywhere? That's why they're hearing all the screeching. But at the end, before they went in the cave, though, they did all hear that.
They did.
Screeching and shit. So I just, this episode was the first one, I feel like, in all 3 seasons that heavily alluded to the fact that something supernatural is going on there.
Yeah, way more than any of the other seasons. Like, obviously they were alluding to that, right? They were really trying to implement that, but now they're like, everybody's hearing these things, because even Coach has a story when he's down there with oh god, what's her name? Mari. Down there with Mari, and he's like talking about his life, and he goes, what the fuck is that? You hear this? And Mari's like, yeah, I hear it too. And he's like flipping out. He's like, what the fuck is happening here?
He's breaking down.
This is just not my life. There's no way this could be me.
Yeah.
And side note, I want to talk about Coach real quick, because I don't know how I feel about his character development. Obviously, with the cabin being burned down, we all know it was him. He had fucking matches and shit when he was going out and leaving.
I don't know.
I think it's him. I really do. But
and they're just trying to play us otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know if I like I want to be nowhere near with you guys anymore. Like, yeah, obviously they ate Hobby, right? Like, and that's really, really sad. But you also got to think of the situation they were in, and they had nothing else, and it sucks how it all turned out. But with him being so hard now and not caring, and I just don't know if I like that. I liked it when he was still kind of part of the group, and obviously he had the I'm gonna go and kill myself now, and Misty talks him down, which I feel like Misty probably should just let him do it, whatever. But then we wouldn't be where we are right now, right? If he did die. I don't know. I kind of miss the old Coach, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like his character's really gone on a roller coaster. But he is the one that, even though whenever he was still with the girls in the cabin, he was still ostracized in a lot of ways, because 1, he was healing because his leg got chopped off.
Yeah.
2, he was, well, not the only guy, but an older guy that wasn't screwing one of the girls like Travis was. And
poor Travis.
I know, dude, it breaks my heart. But so I feel like he was already kind of a loner, and then the girls, not only with the cannibalism, but they also just started banding together more, even if they were kind of divided. I mean, obviously we're still seeing Mari and Shauna divided up until the end of this episode, where I feel like it's just because Mari gave Shauna what she needed and she was trying to get something out of her. But he felt close to Nat because Nat had lived the hardest life out of all of them, really.
Yeah.
Because she accidentally killed her dad, and so she already had that on her conscience. But he was a piece of shit, anyways. Yeah. Her mom wasn't the greatest, and still wasn't at her funeral. I was like, that bitch.
I have one sentence to say to you, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, it's done. We're done. I'm like, that is so rude, but. So I think he bonded to her the most because he felt like she was the most mature, and he could talk to her about real world problems, and she would understand him in a way that the other ones couldn't. And
Sure.
so that's why she knew, like, he was still alive and he was out there somewhere, but she just didn't want to, didn't want to go after him. And I think everything that's happening at the end of the episode with her holding him at gunpoint, that's just a show. And I think going into next week, now that they have captured Coach, even though he saved them, like he heard them screaming or realized what was going on and found them in the cave and saved them from the gas and was like,
Yeah.
y'all are breathing this, I think he's going to go on trial and they're going to do like a Survivor-esque setting, like a tribal
Yeah.
council. And then, I don't know if they're going to end up, I mean, they can't do a ritual because he's got one leg. How are they going to chase his ass through the woods?
I don't think they care. I really
That's a
do.
good
I
point.
think they're just at this point where, like, I don't care if you're injured or if you're starving. Like, we're going to do this because that's what it wants. We
Yeah.
need this because we need something good. And you're bad and you've kidnapped our friend and you've been hiding out. We know, like, they all know, and including me, like, I really do feel like he's the one that burned it down. Unless they really are throwing in like a weird twist there, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was the forest that did that to cause them to break out and maybe be even more part of what it wants. There's so many ways you can go about this, because this show, like, the writing is really good, but it
It's good.
leaves
Yeah.
so much open for you to be like, but it's this, and
Doing
then it
what we're
doesn't
doing
turn out to
now.
be that, and then it's like, oh nope, it's this, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's really just a mind fuck. That's the
Yeah.
show should just be called Yellowjackets Mind Fucked.
Yeah. Mind fucked. We're all mind fucked.
Yeah.
Agreed. So my theory with Coach is, well, and the fire with the cabin. Like when we ended season 2, I was 100% certain that motherfucker burned the cabin down, and I was right there with them. Like, let's go find him. But then, almost 2 years passed, and I kind of got over that a little bit. And then when we start this season, and Mari falls in the hole, which I forgot to mention on the last episode, that hole has to be the pit girl hole for the pilot episode. I bet they end up putting spikes in it and making it
Yeah.
the hole. I forgot to mention that last episode.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
they're going
Makes
to use
sense.
that. They're going to use that in the future. I just know it. But then once he captures Mari and she tells him that the cabin burned, he genuinely looked surprised. And he has never lied to them. You know what I mean? Like, I could say what reason does he have to lie to him now? But obviously, if he did burn the cabin down, he has every reason to lie to him.
Yeah.
But I think he just wanted to get away from those girls and how crazy they were acting. And he was not willing to, maybe he just had a stronger mindset and absolutely would rather starve instead of eating a child. He's the adult there. Even
True.
though it might be in his mid to late 20s or whatever, he's still older than everybody there.
Yeah.
So pairing that reaction from him with what we see with Van in the cave, when that
With the
ember
fire. Yeah.
popped out of the fire, that was shown for a reason. And so the girls split up in the cave, and Akila, Shauna, and Van end up going down a different route than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the gas is. So they all start hallucinating. They are all, well, at least Akila and Shauna are having visions that are somehow relative to something they're living now. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like Akila has the animals and she's like bonding with them in her vision. Shauna is in a lake and she sees a boy. We obviously assume that's her son because
Yeah.
it's yelling mom, and she's trying to get to him, but she can never catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, a great metaphor right there. But then we get to Van and she's back in the cabin sitting in front of a fire. And then that ember pops out on the ground and the cabin burns. My theory is that Ty did it at this point. Dark Ty did it. And either Van is protecting her, and this vision is her feeling guilt from that. Or maybe it could have been, I don't know if they were sleeping in shifts at that point anymore, but what if Van was supposed to stayed up and she fell asleep, and that's when the ember popped out of the fire and the house burned down? So I'm not thinking it's Coach at this point. I think
Huh,
that
that's a good
vision
point.
that vision meant something. And then at one point, like at the end, they're all in a shared vision and in a classroom with teacher Lottie and um and Jackie's there.
Oh,
And
fuck Jackie.
I love Ella Purnell though, so I do like to see her pop up. But yeah, fuck Jackie.
I turned on
I
her
was
so fucking hard. I liked her at first. I was just like, oh, fuck. No, this girl's crazy. Fuck,
yeah,
get out of here.
yeah, she's that bitch. Oof. But and the only person that really isn't feeling pain, like what did you take from that slap it bracelet? Like they had one of those 90s like slap bracelets you slung on. But Van gets cut and Shauna damn near gets, I mean, she actually does get her throat cut, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Like that gore was nice to see.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Akila's not feeling any pain. So is Lottie right? Maybe Travis did feel something when he was tripping, and maybe it really did tell him that. Or maybe,
Maybe.
I don't know, but something, none of this is by accident with what they saw with those
Yeah,
hallucinations.
for sure.
It means something. So what do you have any idea or any theories as to what that could mean?
I think maybe it's just going to be showing what we're going to be seeing later on. The whole like dark tie thing, I kind of like that theory now. I think I might scratch the coach doing it. I think that makes a lot of sense because she does have these, you know, bursts of split personality disorder when she's sleeping, and it does
Mm-hmm.
make sense. And Van is back in the story as an adult, and obviously she has
Yes.
her own thing going on now, and tying her back together. Um, so yeah. As for a theory, I don't know. The only thing that's kind of thrown me off about this episode is that they're throwing in like a new character. This no eyes dude, which we kind
Mm-hmm.
of heard a little bit about from Ty like a long time ago. I feel like season one.
Yeah, we've seen him here and there, but it's been a while since he's popped up.
So like he's now introduced through adult Ty. Like Foley, I feel like you can see him now in this old commercial or whatever, and they go and visit and they see a fox there or a wolf eating a rabbit or something. Like it wants more. So
Mm-hmm.
we have that whole thing. But then when we go to the kids, he's there when they were younger. So
Mm-hmm.
is that the forest? Is that the fucking deity that they're like seeing? Like, is it manifesting in some sort of like almost human-esque form? Like it's like in like a bodysuit is kind of like what it comes off as, because it's obviously like a mask is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, and also, who the fuck would make a commercial like that? That would terrify everyone. That terrified me. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I was
Like,
like,
then it's the '90s,
yeah.
but uh, so because we see when Ty's younger, like when her grandmother dies in season one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, her grandmother's kind of having that fit, and she's like, "No, don't let him take my eyes," I believe is what she says.
Yeah,
And then, you know, Ty actually mentions in this episode, I must have seen that when I was a kid. And that's what my child brain was so scared by this on this commercial. And
sure.
also what happened to my grandmother, like it put the two together.
Yeah,
And obviously the other girls, like they had to have seen that commercial too, especially back then. It would have been familiar to them, which is why we see him pop up in their hallucination at that school and walk down the hallway.
hmm.
So, and Ty's not there with them in that hallucination. So why at in a hallucination with Van, Akila, and Shauna is the no-eyed man popping up like a janitor walking down the hallway? That's what's confusing me now, because now I do think it possibly could be like their version of the wilderness or their interpretation of the wilderness because of how scary it is. Or maybe Ty has told them enough, or I honestly don't know. I don't, because now with him showing up in that hallucination, it's not just connected to Ty, and that's what's throwing me for a loop.
Yeah.
Like, why is he there?
I'm
And then he,
thinking, and this might be a stretch, is like it kind of like the wilderness. I feel like takes parts of everybody and kind of puts it in like a bowl of soup, and it's just
mm-hmm,
like all there. And I think they all kind of like take from it. Which is why now they're hearing all these noises and everything, because they're finally like, I feel like maybe all like one mind type thing. Like they
Okay. A
all
hive
are,
mind. A
yeah,
hive mind. Oh my gosh, my
yeah,
mind
they're
just
just like literally like that. So now, like, obviously, if there's one thing that's freaking out Ty, and it's been like that, and like it knows that it scares the fuck out of her, that it's trying to now implement itself into everybody else now. And I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more of this character for how much they've shown just in this episode alone. Like, it was multiple shots, and they made
yeah,
it very, very intentional and important that you recognize what this thing is and what
exactly.
it's doing. And when it's walking down the hallways, it turns and looks at them too. So it's like it's aware. So
Yeah,
it's got to be some sort of like nightmare creature spawned from their minds that the forest or wilderness can use to inject fear into them, I think. And that's
mm-hmm.
probably what's going to make them end up killing more of each other and eating more of them and just further delve themselves into madness. And you can see Ty like really breaking now. Like, she's fully on board to like where Lottie was. And before she was like, no, this is fucking insane. I don't want to do any of this. And
Exactly,
now she's
dude.
like, Van, you have the cancer and the waiter died. And now you're in remission, so it's definitely doing. She lights the candle, and she's saying the thing. So
I
it's
was
like
like,
she's
what?
back. Like, and I don't think this is the dark Van. This is, I mean, dark Ty. This is what
Ty.
we see full Ty. So I wonder if she's fully like morphed now, and like, because she's back with the person that she loves. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really. We haven't seen her sleepwalk or anything since being with Van. I'm pretty sure. I think she's been pretty
Very
much
good point.
her.
Very good point. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of it is subtle. But if you really like what we're doing right here, thinking about it and talking about it, kind of makes sense that things are getting a little bit crazy now.
Yeah. And oh my god, when Ty went full into it, I gotta say though, my theory was correct. I thought though that after Natalie died, it was gonna be then Van's because of Natalie's death,
Hmm.
then Van's cancer was going to be in remission. So I got it half right, but I didn't expect it to be like what happened.
Yeah.
Like them pulling some high school dine and dash bullshit and then getting a quick high off of it to a guy our age chasing them down and having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like it just and then in the next scene we see that her cancer's in remission, or like this episode, like the start of the episode, I was like, what? And then when they paired that to that and Ty lit that candle and just I don't know, the way Van was looking at her, I think Van's still in shock
She's
about
scared.
her. She's scared. Exactly. She's scared. So I think she's still in shock because of the diagnosis, but also scared and also wondering like, is it really this? Like, do I really want to go back into this? Like, she's jumping for it.
Hmm.
But I like what's going on with Van and Ty more than I do any of the other adults
No, I
right
agree.
now.
I'm right
Right
there
now.
with you.
Like the little clue hunt they went on this episode to that ice cream parlor to see that it was, obviously shut down, and they see that wolf and all that. I thought that was really cool and I was here for that. But everybody else with the adults, they're getting on my damn nerves.
I
Like
feel that.
that's something that Parker and I talked about last week. Do you feel that way too? Are you more invested in the wilderness? Yeah.
Yeah. And what I think is going to happen maybe next episode, because Lottie's now officially fucking kicked out. Like, she's
Oh yeah.
overstepped so hard, and Sean is like, I'm
So
not fucking doing this.
yeah, absolutely.
I think Ty is going to reach out to Lottie, and I think Lottie is going to die next. And I think Ty is going to take position.
Oh.
That's what I think is going to happen, because, like, yeah, Lottie's insane, and we all know that. But this episode, she wasn't really doing anything too wildernessy, other than like hand over the necklace and stuff like that. But she wasn't really tapping into a lot of things that Ty is now tapping into, and she is now having a follower with her more
Mhm.
than Lottie's having with Callie. Even though Callie's a teenager. She's going to fucking do anything you say, really, if you're not
Yeah.
telling them the truth. So I think somehow, some way, it might not be next episode, but it might be this season. I think the next person that's going to be killed is going to be Lottie, and I'll be happy, to be honest, because I'm fucking done with her. I'm so done.
So done. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling that way about Shauna right now. I'm like, bitch, you have got to get it together. Like,
she's getting there. I think she's getting there, and I think, as you're saying, that she needs to break everything to Callie. I think this is her wake up call now, just being like, you know what? Because she kind of does these things where she's like, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna do it. It takes her a while to get there, you know, like obviously confessing to everybody about knowing about Jeff and not telling them about Jeff and how it led to where they are now. All last season, I think it's finally going to be like, I don't want to go down the same road with somebody being killed or whatever it may be, because my lack of wanting to be open, I don't want to keep lying. Also, we haven't really seen a ton of Jeff.
I know,
either.
yeah.
So
he's trying to score that. At this episode, I think he was trying to make up for Shauna fucking up that business deal.
Yeah. So I think that possibly next episode we're going to see a big sit down, maybe not with Jeff involved, but just between Shauna and Callie. Like, you want to hear what happened? This is what happened, because Jeff already told Callie that she would have had a brother.
Exactly.
And so she knows that there's some things that did happen, and she sees why her mom is a little wacko. You know? I mean, she's definitely way crazier as a kid right now. I feel like she's really unhinged and will do anything to anybody at any point. But I think it would be good if she does do that talk with her, and just to see what happens. And maybe Cal would be like, yeah, just leave me the fuck out of this.
Yeah.
But I feel like it might be too late for her, unfortunately.
And something they said too in episode 1 that I brought up last week that's still just sticking with me, that I feel like is gonna have a lot of weight to it later on, is when they're in that restaurant after Natalie's funeral and Shauna says, yeah, but they don't know what we did when we got back. So, like, we haven't even, at least I haven't, up until this point before Shauna said that in this series, I broke it down into 2 timelines: wilderness, adults. I think there's now going to be another storyline for when they get rescued. Later on in the seasons, what happened when maybe once the wilderness storyline has officially concluded and they get rescued. I think that storyline is going to continue from the wilderness to when they get home, but they're still going to be the kids. We're going to see those versions, and there's no telling. Honestly, there might be more people come back than we see now, but because of what happened in that middle part of the, I don't know, killer timeline that they're in, or however, that maybe more people died. Maybe this is something they've already went through once, you know, which is something I never thought of before episode 1 of this season.
That's very interesting. I'll have to go back and rewatch that one now. Especially, I want to go back to that scene and see the POV shot of that person, and then tying it in with the shoplifting scene. I'm telling you, there's something there, and if I'm completely insane, then it just means I'm really enjoying the show.
It's the insanity from shows like this brings out the best theories sometimes, I feel like. Because there's, like you said, we're still so up in the air with interpretation of how this could go. It really could go anyway. So no theory's a bad one.
No.
You know, in turn. That's my Matt Pat way of thinking.
Hell yeah.
Game theory way of thinking. But yeah, I'm really excited for next episode. I think I've told you that Hilary Swank has signed on for this season. And if you listen to the last episode, I said I think she's going to be the grown-up Melissa. If it's not her, I don't know who the fuck else she could be. I don't think she would be Mari, just because they're 2 different ethnicities, I'm fairly certain. So I don't think they would hire Hilary Swank for anybody but like a main character. So I'm thinking, but then again, they could just be doing all this shit to make us think that's what's going to happen, and it's going to be something totally different. She could be a sister to somebody they ate that's wanting to come back and get revenge, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping she shows up next episode. But next episode is called 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis. So I think it's going to be like 12 Angry Men. They're going to set it up like that somehow with the trial of Coach and whatnot. Personally, I would kind of like to see Coach persevere and at least get out of the wilderness, even if something happens to him in the middle. I know you're feeling indifferent, but I feel like he has just gone through it. I mean, Shauna, especially too, with losing the baby, that's terrible. But
Yeah.
dude, he lost a leg and he's just been, I don't know. I feel like I said earlier, little isolated more than the rest of them leading up to this point, and or him breaking free and going on the run, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a part of me too that's just like I feel like he's still alive, like in a grown-up
I
adulthood.
know. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they maybe toying with that so much with him already wanting to commit suicide and being on the brink of madness. I feel like if he was still alive, I don't know what kind of role he would be playing. Because he, like, part of me was just like, oh, he's the one that, if he's still alive, he's the one that dropped off the phone. But I'm like, no, that can't be right because now this new theory that I have, it has to be tied in with that. But then again, maybe it is. Maybe he is still alive, and maybe he got a prosthetic leg, and we saw
Mm-hmm.
two, because we did see two legs there. Blah blah blah.
I was looking
Whatever.
at that too. The
But I was just
shadow in the
like,
bathroom. I was like, oh, they got two legs. But you're very, very true. He very could. Probably at this point, I bet he does have a prosthetic if he is an adult or
yeah,
even present timeline Ben.
yeah. I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
I don't. I'm right there with you though. I don't know what he could bring to the story at this point, other than him just being alive still, and he was there when all the original shit happened, and he's still alive.
Yeah,
Unless, but there, I don't know. All I know is they're going to need Misty, and Misty's not going to show up, and I bet at the end of the season something's going to happen,
it's gonna be the
and
doppelganger that's gonna show up as Misty.
oh. That creep. Every time you bring that up, it gives me chill bumps. It creeps me out. Just like feeling like somebody's watching you.
I'm telling you, you
Who
go watch
who
that
is
scene.
it?
You're gonna be like,
I'm
dude,
going
you're
to.
fucking right. You got to let me know. You need to let
I'm
me know
going
as soon
to.
as you watch it.
When we get done, I'm going to check it out. At least just get those scenes up and be like, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'll put them in the episode, or at least on a clip if I get them, if I can
Yes.
find them.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else we need to touch on? Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think I got pretty much everything out of the way. I really want to put that theory out there because I wonder if anybody else has been, feeling the same way or if they caught on to that.
Yeah.
Because I watched it again today before we did this, and I was like, oh, I got to go back to that scene and see it. And I still felt the same way I did the first
Same
time, being
way.
like, it has to be. But now I got to go back to the dining part in episode 1 to see
Mm-hmm.
if it's the same person.
I'll have to do that too. You can
I don't know.
compare.
I don't know. And Lottie, I don't think would be that aware of if it was somebody watching, like say it was somebody posing as Misty. I don't think she would have been so tapped in because she was so focused on Callie, right? All of her
Yeah.
energy is there, being like, "Here, I'm trying to rope you into doing this." Like, yeah, I understand that there's a guard there and somebody who's undercover there, but she's not going to be paying attention to everybody else around her. So
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very
who
true.
knows? Who knows?
And that's interesting you bring it up that way, because that also shows us a parallel between adult Lottie and kid Lottie in the wilderness, because she's very much focusing all of her energy on first Travis.
Yeah,
And now that Travis is like, I'm done, it's not me, the wilderness said it's her. Now she's focusing all of her energy on Aquila. So it's very interesting you bring that up, because we're also like we're seeing with some of the other adults and kids storylines, we're seeing the parallels
yeah.
between them two as well. So yeah, it's starting to pick up. Starting to
Hmm.
pick up. I'm excited to see what happens with Ben next week. I hope we spend more time in the wilderness with them, and I'm kind of getting annoyed with the adult storylines. Like this episode, I was like, I just want to go back and see, do they find Ben? Is Mari going to snitch on him? I just want to know all this stuff. And then, like I said, at the last 10 minutes, I was totally sucked into that TV.
Yeah,
And because it was really weird and different, but if in my opinion, in a good way, it worked for me.
yeah. It was definitely a change of pace. I feel like from all the other episodes, I was like, oh, all right, we're getting way more supernatural weird shit. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah. I was here for it. Um, but yeah, guys, this is episode 3 of Yellowjackets season 3. New episodes are dropping every Friday on Paramount Plus. It used last season, like I said, it was at 8 p.m., but I think now they're just I don't know if they're releasing them overnight, because when I've gotten up in the mornings these past 2 weeks for work, I've noticed that they've already been on there. So,
Yeah.
like, as soon as you wake up on Fridays, if you want to watch Yellowjackets, you're free to this
Yeah.
season.
Another really funny thing and cool thing is like they released, I think how many views the first episode had? It was like 2.8 million episodes or like views or
Yeah.
something. That's insane.
The
So
highest of the series so far was the season 3 opener. So it's very exciting for Yellowjackets. I think it's one of the most original shows we've gotten in a long time,
yes.
especially for the horror genre.
Hmm.
And I do love all of the cast. Like, even Mari, like, she gets on my nerves because she's good at it. She's a good actress. So I think this show is something really special. And even though I am seeing like mixed reports, like some of the news, TV show, like horror sites I follow have said the same thing. Like, is Yellowjackets season 3 off to a bad start? Or, how do we feel about this, and this?
Hmm.
And I'm seeing the mixed reviews. I am seeing people see the same thing I've said, and you and Parker too, is like, we want to know more about the wilderness. What are we doing with the adults? Like, what does this have to do with anything other than just like us showing us that the wilderness is still in their life and it is still connected to them? And so, like, one other thing I did want to bring up actually is, so if now in the adult storyline with the way Ty's talking, how many people is it going to have to take before it's satisfied? Like, was there a certain number it took in the wilderness, and we obviously don't have that total yet because we don't know what happens? Is it going to have to take the same amount of people in their present life? Like, there's just so many more questions I
That's a
feel
good
like
question.
that needs to be answered. Like, they're you don't want like a monkey's paw situation with the wilderness. You need a contract kind of thing
Yeah.
of bullet points of this is what to do and what not to do, and we just don't have that yet.
Nope, it's not our typical slasher formula, where it's like
I
just don't
know.
have sex, don't do
Here's the
drugs.
rules. Yeah. Never, ever, under any circumstances, say, "I'll be right back." You will be back.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot up in the air, and that's what makes this show really, really fun. So if you guys haven't checked out Yellow Jackets, go do it. Go do it.
Get on the
It
train.
took me
I'm
a
so
while, and I'm thanking Anna for putting me on this because I'm having a lot of fun, and the theory crafting is extremely fun.
It
Just
is
trying
fun.
to figure out what's going on. So, yeah, this is
I
this is
love it.
super super cool.
Yeah, hell yeah! I'm so glad you started, and you're into it as much as
Hmm.
you are, and you like it, and that you can join me now every
Hell
week.
yeah,
Yay!
I'm excited.
Alrighty, you guys, this is not just going to be on Patreon after all. We are putting it on YouTube, but it will be out early on Patreon as per usual for all of our patrons. We will be back next weekend to talk about episode 4, and I believe we will have a guest next week too. So stay tuned for that. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good
Bye.
one.